A topic that will come up through the real estate education programs, plus great to know for once licensed. The client's deposit, not just what to know on the day-to-day, but what happens in the distribution on the back end. Really good information to know, but stick around to the end and we'll break down a really good multiple choice question you may see on the exams. Just quickly, if you are looking for more support to pass these exams fast and efficient, look to the Exam Master mini courses in the description below. More on that later in the video, but let's dive right into it. First, the real world. Let's go look at a property for sale. If you scroll down, this is where the deposit amount that the seller is looking for will be indicated. Note that all deposits are of course negotiable. You can decide this with your buyer client, but note, real world, 95% of the time you make your offer with the deposit amount that the seller is looking for described in the listing. When you make your offer, you essentially have three options. You have herewith, you have upon acceptance, and you also have otherwise described. Herewith means you actually make your offer with the deposit itself. Very rare, but it does show that your buyer is very serious. Upon acceptance is within the 95 to 99% of the time of what you will be doing, and this means when you make your offer and it is accepted, you have 24 hours to get the deposit to the listing brokerage. If your offer contains conditions, let's say a condition on home inspection or financing, you still need to get the deposit to the listing brokerage within 24 hours. Nothing changes there, but then you will have about 5 days, which is the norm, to get your conditions satisfied. If, for example, the home inspection comes back and they find out that there's mold or something like that, and the buyers no longer wish to go ahead with the purchase, the deposit will be returned in full to the buyers. They will continue their search and the home will be back on the MLS listed as active. Third is otherwise described. This is more something you might see in commercial real estate. It could be something like $40,000 upon acceptance and another $40,000 when the conditions are firmed up, something like that. On the agreement of purchase and sale, this is the section on which you will indicate how the deposit will be submitted and the amount. Quick mention, and again, it is in the 99% of the ratio, the listing brokerage will be holding that deposit in trust, but it's not 100%. It could be the cooperating brokerage or it could be the seller's lawyer. Just note that because this is how they could trick you on some exams. It's not a must that the listing brokerage holds the deposit. What is a must, however, is the listing brokerage must put that deposit into their real estate trust account, and it must be in there within 5 business days of receipt. Note that for the real world, 5 business days is the max, of course, but in the real world, it will be put in there as soon as possible. Okay, let's get into deposit distribution, which is important for the exams, of course, and then we'll get into that really good multiple choice question you may see in the exams. Let's break this down beautifully, and you know me, I love average scenarios, high percentage scenarios you're going to see most. Deposit disbursement scenario, sale price, let's say 1 million, deposit 50,000, held by the listing brokerage in trust, total commission 5% plus HST, which equals 50,000 plus 6,500 for a total of 56,500. Commission split, listing brokerage for this example keeps 2.5%, let's say, plus HST, which is 28,250, and the cooperating brokerage is going to get 2.5% as well. Now, the sale closes. First, the buyer's lawyer sends 950,000 to the seller's lawyer. Second, the listing brokerage releases the deposit from the trust account and sends the 50,000 deposit to the seller's lawyer on closing. Third, the seller's lawyer now has the full million. All sale proceeds in trust to pay out the following. Disbursement by seller's lawyer. First, pays commission to the listing brokerage, 56,500 total, the 5% plus HST based on an invoice submitted by the listing brokerage. Second, listing brokerage disperses commissions. It pays the 28,250 to the cooperating brokerage, which is 2.5% plus HST. It keeps its 28,250 for itself, then pays their own listing salesperson. The cooperating brokerage pays their own buyer agent, and both will be based off their internal splits, and the brokerage keeps the remain. Third, to finish this out, the seller pays out any other obligations such as mortgage discharge, property tax adjustments, condo fees adjustments if applicable, and legal fees. They will pay themselves. Fourth, remaining funds go to the seller as net proceeds. And fifth, the buyer takes possession. Okay, so screenshot this for sure if you like. If you'd like to have nice breakdowns like this to refer back to for your notes, but let's move on to that really good multiple choice question you may see in the exams. Here's the question here. Let's read it and then break it down. A property sells for $850,000 with a $40,000 deposit held by the listing brokerage. The commission is 5% plus HST, and the listing brokerage is offering 2.5% plus SHST to the cooperating brokerage. The deal is firm and closing in 60 days. What statement is true regarding the deposit and commissions in this transaction? Okay, on to A. And I always move the cursor right. If you're reading this, leave the cursor top left when you're reading the question, and then move it beside each answer. If it sounds correct, leave the cursor hovered over it, and if you know it's wrong, move on. It's a really good way to keep yourself focused on these exams. Okay, A. The cooperating brokerage receives their portion of the commission from the seller's lawyer and then pays their salesperson in accordance with their internal splits. This is incorrect. The seller's lawyer will actually pay all of it to the listing brokerage. Then the listing brokerage will submit the portion that it's owed to the cooperating brokerage as per the 320, as per the confirmation of cooperation and representation. Over to B. If the buyer backs out due to an unfulfilled condition, the listing brokerage must still release the deposit to the seller's lawyer to cover any damages. This is also incorrect if the buyer terminates the deal. If it's terminated due to a condition such as a house inspection, the deposit will be returned in full from the listing brokerage in this scenario. Note that there will be a mutual release for sure for that deposit. If things get really sour, it would be a court order, but in this situation, it would not be going to the seller's lawyer. On to C. If the listing brokerage is holding the deposit, it must be placed in the real estate trust account within 5 business days of receipt. Okay, so this sounds like something we know. Always leave the cursor hovered over a question you think could possibly be right, or if it's something you don't know. Let's say you didn't know that stat, you didn't know the 5 business days. Always leave it hovered over, but always read the last question for process of elimination. Let's go on to D. The deposit should be submitted with the offer upon acceptance to demonstrate good faith. This is incorrect, but could be tricky for sure in an exam, right? So herewith, we know herewith is with the deposit on the offer, and upon acceptance is getting it to the listing brokerage within 24 hours. So what is correct? The answer is C. If the listing brokerage is holding the deposit, it must be placed in the real estate trust account within 5 business days of receipt. And again, like mentioned before in this video, that 5 business days is the max. Real world, most likely be placed in right away. I really hope that helped, guys. And as mentioned, if you are looking for that additional support to pass these exams fast, first try or crush a retake, look to the Exam Master mini courses in the description below. It's mini notes, mini quizzes, my exact fundamentals I use to pass all exams, first try and in 4.5 months. And I also do video breakdowns of the 4 types of questions you may see on the exams. Those links in the description below are also value links for the YouTube family for the time being. If you have any questions at all, you can DM, email, comment on this video. I get back to everyone. My name is Callum Moore, eXp Realty real estate broker here in Ontario. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.